Hey guys, I'm going to take you through the BKK OCD box. Mine's a little banged up. I've had it in the boat since I cast in July when I came home with mine. But I want to take you through piece by piece what hooks you'll receive when you buy one of these, because there's $356 worth of hooks in this package, plus the box. So when you first open it up, what you're going to notice, watertight gasket, just like any other solid storage system. You're going to see some small boxes at the top. Those are going to hold your drop shot hooks. You're going to see a couple of these smaller boxes for your hyper latch trebles. We're going to get into those last. Stick around, don't fast forward through this. You're going to want to know some really unique features, especially you Megabass 110 guys. You're going to be real interested in these. Then you'll see your bigger boxes down low with the new Permalock hooks, the new offset redesigns. So I'm going to take you through each and every one of these. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss out.
All right, I'm over at BKK with Joe, and we're going to talk about some new hooks.
All right, let's start in the top left corner, and then I'm going to take you through the rest of the box, okay? When you first open it, you're going to see size 4 all the way down to 2-aught drop shot hooks. Now this is a redesign. We used to have the BKK DSS worm hook. This is not the same. We went through and we changed a lot of angles. You're going to get a lot more bite out of this drop shot hook now. Way less skin hooking those smallmouth bass up on the St. Lawrence if you're one of those guys up north in the Great Lakes region who are chasing those lunker smallies. No more kind of skin hooking them. We opened up your angles a lot more. You have a lot more bite in this hook. What I've found in my experience in the over 6 months I've had these is I'm able to downsize now. I'm getting the same strength. That ArmorPoint wire, which is in every one of these hooks in this OCD box, is so stinking strong. I've been able to downsize. Michelle and I have seen great luck from Lake George and the St. Lawrence all the way down to Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. I have been able to go smaller anytime I'm drop shotting or anytime I just want a more finesse presentation and I'm not losing fish. These ArmorPoint hooks are the deal. So that's what you get in the drop shot hook. Now we go to the long shank drop shot hook. I'm going to show you guys this hook in a 1-aught. This is very similar in length to the RoboWorm rebarb hook, which if you guys use a long shank drop shot hook, you know that is the industry standard. But what we get out of this hook that I like better than the rebarb, maybe some of you won't, but that I like better, is I have a little more gap from shank to hook point. And that's what I really enjoy. I have more strength in a 1-aught than I was getting out of the RoboWorm rebarb, but I also have a bigger gap. And to me, I can get a 6-inch RoboWorm to just sit a little nicer on this hook. I just like the rigging and presentation better. But then I have a fluorocarbon bait keeper. To me, this is just perfect. I think they've designed this hook absolutely perfect. You have a similar design in terms of strength to your flipping hook, but you have it in a long shank finesse presentation for drop shotting a Texas rig. For me, this is absolutely perfect. All right, let's start moving down to our bigger boxes. We're going to save those hyper latches like I mentioned before for last. Next, we have the Permalock. What your Permalock hook is it is your weedless screw lock hook. For me, anytime I am swimming a toad, or more importantly, using a swimming worm, like a Zoom speed worm, or I actually like the Strike King cutter worm, I'm going to use this. I can still have the bullet weight out front to kind of get me around lily pads anytime I'm fishing that bait on braid. So that kind of works as kind of a wedge and kind of a deflector. And then I have the weedlessness of the Permalock design. I think this is just absolutely perfect. BKK did a really good job. They kind of redesigned the screw locks. So if you're familiar with the Titan Diver and the Titan Diver Plus, we have a redesigned screw now. These stay on way better. They're perfectly sized for the baits and the applications that you're using them. This Permalock hook is amazing. All right, after the Permalocks, we have our weighted Permalock. For me, this is my fluke hook. Oop, this is a 3-aught, I want a 4-aught. This is my fluke hook. Now, notice when you open these, there are 2 sized tungsten nail weights, all right? You get 4 tungsten nail weights, I believe, in each package, but 2 of them are different sizes than the other 2. This tungsten nail that comes on it, it's got great fluorocarbon bait keepers. Since it's made of tungsten, it fits inside of a fluke or a swimming worm really, really well. And what it allows for is whenever you're fishing a fluke, I tend to have to slow down, especially because I'm fishing it on braid often if I'm down in Florida, which is a really high floating line. To me, this tungsten nail weight being inside the bait instead of out in front of the bait allows for a perfect dying shad presentation on the fall when I do pause it, but it allows me to fish it real fast too, because I can use like a 7/64 nail weight that's inside the 5-aught, or a 3/32 or a 1/16 that's inside our 4-aughts. All right, so for me, Permalock anytime I'm swimming a worm, weighted Permalock anytime I'm using a fluke. All right. Now, some of you guys were familiar with some of the hooks we made before, like the Chimera and the Nemesis. Those were kind of EWG style hooks. I know a lot of us in the US weren't real thrilled with trying to remember all the names. So what we did at BKK is we just named our new offset worm hook simply that, offset worm WG. All right, here's a 4-aught. What it is it's again an ArmorPoint wire, but we went with a little bit of a heavier ArmorPoint wire. It's a design that's very much like in between our Chimera and our Nemesis. Our Chimera was kind of your standard worm hook. The Nemesis had a very deep belly on its EWG style. We went kind of in between this time. Now we did redesign some line tie angles and some hook point angles to give you guys the maximum opportunity for a good hookup. And we really just felt like we left the right amount of gap in between the height of the hook point and the height of the line tie to just give you guys a little higher hookup percentage. Now, these are heavier than our old Chimera and Nemesis. Add in, they're made out of the ArmorPoint wire, which makes them even stronger. But now you can go to our offset WG HD, an even heavier wire. For you Gamakatsu Superline guys, this is the hook. All right, to me, she's built absolutely perfect. You have all the strength to drag in 10, 15, 20 pounds of grass on top of that 5 to 10 pound fish too, and you're not gonna have to worry about bending that hook out. So that's the HD version of our offset worm hook. Now, we have discontinued our old flipping hooks. We did not redesign the shape. All we did is give you guys an ArmorPoint wire. Here's your 5-aught. We kept the same bait keeper on there, so you still have your metal bait keeper. It's nice and sturdy, all right? But even more exciting, for a lot of you Florida guys that like to go real finessey, and I know a couple of you are out there, my buddy Brooker is one of them, you got a 2-aught version now. Now BKK tends to make a flipping hook that has a wide gap, but a little bit of a shorter shank on it. So this 2-aught, you can get a really small beaver style bait on there. All right, 2-aught's been a very popular seller for us. A lot of people are reloading their boxes with the 2-aught, and it's also just selling just flat off the shelves in a regular 2-aught as well. All right, so again, not a redesign in shape, just giving you the ArmorPoint wire for even more strength than you had before. To me, I feel like I could drag 15 jungle flipping hooks with this thing. No problem. All right, I love that hook. I think it's the best one on the market. Lastly, the hook I use the most out of any of them, it's our offset worm hook. This was previously named our Siren round bend offset worm hook. Now you just have a Siren with an ArmorPoint wire. We didn't change anything about the shape. You still get the high hookup ratio, especially when Carolina rigging. You just have that Siren now with an ArmorPoint hook or an ArmorPoint wire, and that's the deal. I already thought the hook was perfect. I use the 2/0 on the St. Lawrence all the time. 20-pound braid to 15-pound leader on my Carolina rigs. Never bent one out before. Boat flipped over 50 in 2022 using the Siren. Over 50, over 4.5 pounds with it, and never bent a single one, but now you have the ArmorPoint strength as well for you guys that are trying to boat flip 8s and 10s down in Texas. All right, so the moment we've all been waiting for. The last hook in our box, and that's going to be, well, let's pull out the 4s. That's going to be your Hyperlatch 70 treble. This was designed by Cliff Pace. This is by far the best treble hook I've ever seen. And its greatest feature for you megabass guys is it is the exact same weight as the Katsuwagi Outbarb in the 110. All right, so if you're a megabass 110 guy, but you're not a Katsuwagi Outbarb fan, maybe you bend them too much, especially trying to get them out of a fish's mouth. They bend all the time. Now you have a really high-end replacement hook for those Katsuwagis. Now, the Hyperlatch is a semi-EWG style hook. It's not a round bend like BKK's Spear 21. It's not a short shank like our Spear 71. And it's not a full wide gap like our Spear 71. It's kind of in the middle. It's kind of a hybrid. The hook point doesn't point back at the eye. It still gives you a lot of bite and a good bit of gap there. But it, again, really importantly, it's the exact same weight. So if you're a 110 guy, that's really key. BKK OEMs the Katsuwagi Outbarb for megabass. They're built in BKK factories. Now you have a super high-end replacement by the guys who are already making the Katsuwagi to megabass's specs. Now you have them being made to a high-end specification for high-end anglers. All right, we make them the way megabass wants them. Now we're making them the way we wanted them, the way you wanted them. All right, you guys have told us what you want. We as anglers, we want them a certain way. We believe we made them for you. Lastly, something that's real important to note, you can tell I'm almost out of them. I should reload this section of my box. We have a number 5. So if you guys live in the Great Lakes region and fish a jerkbait really, really fast in the summer, you're not worried about making your 110 suspend perfectly. You maybe want to upsize those hooks for big, big smallmouth. Now you can get the Hyperlatch in a number 5. That in-between size is, she's the deal. Especially if you're fishing in real warm water when those baits really want to float up high. Now you can kind of weight that bait down a little bit more too. Or if you're just fishing it really fast and you want to keep it down there or don't really care that the bait's maybe a little overloaded, now you can have an in-between size instead of having to go all the way up to a size 4. All right, so that's your $356 worth of hooks plus the cost of the box. This thing retails for $299.99. Check them out anywhere. BKK is sold. They're flying off the shelves. Not going to be around for very long. I bet by this summer, it's going to be hard to get them. Check them out. Thanks, guys.
Bye.